We've finally seen a good chunk of gameplay of Life is Strange 2, and things sure are different. No more Max and Chloe, this time we're joining 16-year-old Shawn and 9-year-old Daniel Diaz, brothers on the run. This week at Gamescom, I got to see some extra gameplay footage from the first episode, and actually got to play a section at the very start of the game. So I learned a thing or two that I think you might be interested to know. Here are 8 new things I learned after playing Life is Strange 2.
It's gonna be alright.
On the ground!
So what we know so far is that the brothers, having witnessed a traumatizing incident that draws out Daniel's mysterious powers of telekinesis and forces the brothers to leave their home, are on the run. They begin in their home of suburban Seattle, which you'll remember is also where one Miss Max Caulfield once lived. Their destination is Puerto Lobos, a tiny but real beachside community in Sonora, Mexico, that's home to just over 100 people.
Maybe one day when I retire, I'll go back to Mexico, to Porto Lobos.
At the beginning of the game, their father Esteban mentions that that's where he's from, so it's possible the boys are hoping to flee there in order to find their extended family. If you've played The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, you'll probably have noticed that the pair make a pit stop in Beaver Creek, Oregon, and meet Chris Erickson there. We know that the events in Life is Strange 2's opening, where Daniel discovers his powers, take place a few days before Halloween. In Captain Spirit, Chris and his dad plan to go buy a Christmas tree. Therefore, it's probably safe to assume that by that point, Shawn and Daniel have been on the run for at least a month. Luckily, they seem to have found a warmer change of clothes by then. It's also worth noting that if we're to assume that it's Daniel who stops Chris from falling at the end of Captain Spirit, it would suggest that he's not only fully aware of his powers by then, but in total control of them too. Will that have been a self-taught thing, or is it possible that they met someone who gave them clothes and lessons in keeping telekinetic powers in check?
How am I supposed to take care of us out here?
Another thing worth thinking about, it's taken them at least a month, maybe 2, to reach Oregon, but that's only about a quarter of the way they'd need to travel to Mexico. They still need to cross California and or Nevada and Phoenix. Life is Strange 1 played out in the space of a single week. Life is Strange 2 seems like it might take place over entire seasons. That's assuming, of course, they do stay on track for Mexico. Although it's hard to tell at this point, it seems like Shawns Backpack, the only thing that the pair are able to take from their house before going on the run, will play an important part in Life is Strange 2's gameplay. More specifically, players will be able to keep track of its contents via the menu screen. We don't know yet whether it's a Resident Evil 4 attaché case Tetris situation where you only have a limited amount of space to store items of varying sizes, but you'll at least be able to look through and gauge how useful its contents are. One thing that we were told, and so we're passing this info on to you because we're good like that, whatever you choose to pack for the party prior to the events that unfold outside on the Diaz's front lawn are the items you will end up with in the bag when you're forced to flee. So you'll maybe want to think about what will actually be useful between soda, water or beer, or cookies, candy and chips out in the wilderness. We got to snoop through the items that were already in Shawn's bag before he started to pack though, and they were exactly the kind of things you'd expect to see in a 16-year-old's backpack. Headphones, textbooks, various notes and numbers, a lighter, a random USB, and a picture of his dad. Oh. You can also find a few extra items around the house to pack before you go as well, including blankets, snacks, and condoms. Well, you never know.
You wouldn't be so uptight if you got laid. And maybe tonight's the night.
Don't jinx me.
And in the grand tradition of Life is Strange, you can also read back through Shawn's text conversations with friends, family, and teammates. There are some very cute interactions with his friend Layla in particular, who humours Daniel when he steals his brother's phone to talk to her, and who warns you that if you don't text her back, she'll just get in touch with your hot dad instead. Yeah, we think we're gonna like Layla.
Oh my god, you thirsty bitch.
Although the build we played was modified slightly for Gamescom, we were still able to access part of the menu and get an idea of what Shawns' equivalent of Max's diary and Chloe's letters is. It's kind of like a sketchbook where Shawn practices various doodles and writes notes to his friend Layla during class. He also keeps scraps of different ticket stubs and memories stuffed in there too. It works in the exact same way as its previous incarnations in other LIS games though, in that it provides a little insight into what Shawn is thinking and adds more colour to the world for players keen to seek it out. It's nice the protagonists expressing themselves and showing us their unique worldview through their various creative talents has become one of the pillars of Life is Strange. Max's photography and Shawn's talents at drawing are probably never essential skills to making the game actually progress, but that's what makes them special and what makes those characters feel so real. We all have things that bring us comfort or lift us up when things get rough. It's nice to see Life is Strange continue to put value in things characters do outside of the main story, and to find the importance of characters taking those quiet, reflective moments for themselves to appreciate the world around them, or help people see it through their eyes. Speaking of the drawing mechanic though, we had the chance to see it in a little more detail during our playthrough. If you explore Shawn's room a little more instead of just jumping on the Skype call with Layla, you can sit down in a comfy beanbag and draw. In its simplest state, the draw mechanic seems to come in two stages. First, you observe the scene around you and take stock of detail. This seems to involve holding down the A or X button on consoles until your surroundings come into focus. Then, you can look down at your sketchpad and begin to draw. When we tried for the first time, Shawn commented that there could be a little more detail in there, so we went back and studied our surroundings, that is, Shawn's messy, cramped little room, a bit more. Allowing the room to come into more sharp focus and then returning to our sketchpad seemed to yield more impressive results, but it'll be interesting to see how this mechanic evolves and whether things like your angle, perspective, and scope of a potential sketching scene will alter the results you receive.
Hold on, okay? Something's going on outside.
What do you mean? Hey!
The original Life is Strange did not shy away from some difficult topics, and if the first 20 minutes of Life is Strange 2 is anything to go by, it won't either, although it seemingly has different but equally important topics in mind to cover, namely racism and the current tense political climate in America. The dramatic and unbelievably tense situation that drives the boys to run away occurs when they and their father have an altercation with a young white cop, but there are hints before then too. Esteban Diaz, when asking Shawn to keep an eye on his brother, says that it's a scary time for this country. Later, when confronting the bully Brett and deciding to protect his brother, Shawn is told to go back to his own country. These and other small clues lead us to think that racism and specifically the current climate in America will be a major theme of Life is Strange 2, as the boys decide to leave America and head to their father's hometown in Mexico. It's worth bearing in mind that Life is Strange 2 Episode 1 is set at the very end of October 2016, and Donald Trump was officially elected just 1 week later on the 8th of November. I'd be surprised if the game ever actually mentioned Trump or alluded to him in any real way. In any case, the Life is Strange universe is a take on ours and needn't be exactly the same, but it's clear that it will touch upon racial tensions that were brought to the fore during that time, and in many ways have gotten worse since. One thing that was only very briefly touched upon in the demo gameplay released by Square and Don't Nod is where exactly Shawn and Daniel's mother is now. If you choose to confront Daniel about spilling the fake blood on Brett, you'll eventually try and walk away, but one single comment from Brett, "It's no wonder your mom bailed," is enough to make Shawn turn around and clock him one right in the face. We're to assume then that the boy's mother left them and their father, but we don't know why or when. Exploring the demo on my own, I was able to, I think, pick up a few more clues. For example, when Shawn heads down into the garage, he can look at the bikes on the wall, or at one labelled women's bike in particular. Investigating this will lead Shawn to wonder, with a pretty angry tone, why his father hasn't gotten rid of it yet. Similarly, while looking for a blanket in the basement, Shawn can examine some boxes labelled, I think it said Karen, which can lead him to wonder equally venomously why his dad hasn't thrown them away. Also, this could just be Don't Nod trolling or my conspiracy theory brain going haywire, but I swear those boxes were filled with seemingly inconspicuous red and black binders. Going back to Daniel's powers, it's interesting that this Life is Strange series would give its supernatural ability to an NPC character and not the player. But it makes sense, given Season 2's focus on education as a theme. Players might not be able to pull off great feats of telekinesis themselves, but they have a pretty overwhelming influence on a young and very vulnerable person who can. An extra section of the game was played to press at Gamescom, and it showed the brothers trying to find a place to camp in a forest. As you explore, different points of interest, highlighted in blue, represented things Shawn could interact with and teach Daniel about, things that could potentially help Daniel later on. But it's not just about practical knowledge. There's a moment where Daniel spots his favourite chocolate bar in an open car. You can choose to carry on with the promise that you'll buy him one later, or you can take that chocolate bar for him right then. If you do that though, you're teaching Daniel that it's okay to steal, so he may try and do that himself at a later date. Finally, Life is Strange 2 seems to continue the series' tradition of using animal symbolism in relation to its main characters. We've had butterflies, squirrels, deer and ravens. Shawn and Daniel's animal guide appears to be the wolf. Not only do the boys howl at the moon in the reveal trailer and Shawn's hoodie features a prominent wolf motif, the game features a pair of running wolves as an on-screen marker for when something Shawn says or does has a long-term impact on Daniel. Additionally, the place the boys are trying to get to in Mexico, where their father Esteban mentions he's from, is Puerto Lobos. Lobo is Spanish for wolf. I wonder what Samuel would have to say about all this. So what do you think of the details revealed about Life is Strange 2 so far? What do you like or what don't you like about it? Let us know in the comments, check out one of our Let's Plays of the original series or of Before the Storm, and subscribe to Eurogamer for lots more Life is Strange in the very near future. Thanks for watching. Bye!
Here, let Lila the Love Witch work her magic.
Okay, just don't make me sound like a loser.
I said matchmaker, not miracle worker.